Let me tell you about a story that completely changed my perspective on money. It all started when I was just 9 years old, with a part-time job that led to a realization that, honestly, shaped my entire life.
So, what was I getting paid for this job? 10 cents. 10 cents an hour. For 3 hours of work every Saturday, I'd get a grand total of 30 cents. I mean, even as a kid, I knew that was a terrible deal. And that feeling, that was the spark for everything that came next.
Yeah, that raw deal made me angry. After just a few weeks, the excitement of having a job completely vanished. All I felt was ripped off. I was so ready to quit. But deciding to quit led me straight into the most important financial lesson I've ever learned.
Now, to understand what happened, you have to know about the two major influences in my life. I had two father figures, and they had completely, and I mean completely, different ideas about money. This clash of philosophies is really at the heart of the whole story.
So on one hand, you had my poor dad. He was super educated, a great guy, but he believed in the traditional path. You know, go to school, get good grades, find a safe, secure job. But then there was my rich dad. He was an entrepreneur, and his advice was the total opposite. He'd say, never work for money. Learn how to make money work for you.
I was so intrigued by this radical idea that I decided to follow Rich Dad's path. And that's how I ended up with the 10-cent job. See, this wasn't just about work. It was an experiment. It was a first-hand lesson in what it feels like to chase a paycheck.
And wow, what an emotional roller coaster that experiment was. The first week, pure excitement. I had a job. By week 2, it was just a chore. And by the end of the first month, the truth hit me hard. I felt totally stuck, working my tail off for practically nothing. I was caught in the 10-cent an hour trap.
So I'd had enough. I marched over to Rich Dad, ready to complain, ready to quit. I was expecting him to feel sorry for me, maybe give me a raise. What I got instead was a conversation that completely flipped my world upside down. Rich Dad didn't offer me a raise. He offered me a new perspective. He told me that this whole cycle, working hard, getting a tiny paycheck, feeling frustrated, that wasn't just a bad job. It was a small-scale version of the trap most adults live in their entire lives. He said, "You've just felt what it's like to be stuck. The real lesson is learning how to get out."
I was just confused, frustrated. I asked him, okay, if working for a paycheck is a trap, then what's the answer? What am I supposed to do? And the answer he gave me was the absolute last thing I ever expected to hear.
Yep, he said work for free. He told me he was going to stop paying me altogether, but I wasn't fired. Instead, he offered me something way more valuable, an education. He said keep working, but stop thinking about the money. Instead, open your eyes and start looking for the opportunities that everyone else is too busy chasing a paycheck to see.
So, I did it. I went back to that store, but this time I wasn't there to earn 10 cents an hour. I was there to learn. I wasn't an employee anymore. I was a student, and I was training my mind to spot value where other people didn't. And that's when I found it, my very first business idea.
My big aha moment came from watching the store manager do something totally normal. Every week, she'd take the old, unsold comic books and just throw them away. To her, they were trash. But with my new mindset, I saw something completely different. I saw value where everyone else just saw waste.
So I asked if I could have the old comics, and she said sure. I took that trash and I turned it into an asset. I started a little comic book library in my garage. Then I built a system around it. I charged other kids 10 cents to come in and read as much as they wanted, and I hired my friend's older sister to run it for me. All of a sudden, I was making money without even being there.
You see the difference here? It's huge. The job was all about trading my time for money. A fixed rate, 10 cents for every hour I worked. But the system, that was about creating value for other people. My income wasn't tied to my time anymore. That little library made money whether I was there or not.
This whole experience, it wasn't really about comic books. It was a masterclass in financial thinking, and it taught me some really powerful core lessons about how money actually works.
And this is the biggest one. The ultimate lesson wasn't about how to get a better paying job. It was that real wealth, true financial freedom, comes from using your mind to create value. When you focus on solving problems for people, money just follows as a natural result.
So it all boils down to a few really simple but powerful ideas. First, stop chasing the paycheck. It's designed to be a trap. Second, start thinking like an owner, not an employee.
Train yourself to see all the invisible opportunities that are right in front of you. And finally, build systems so you can stop trading your time for money.
You know, in the end, that terrible 10-cent wage was probably the best payment I ever got in my life. The real prize wasn't the 30 cents in my pocket. It was the lesson. It was a priceless education in how to see the world differently.
This story is really a blueprint for a whole different way of thinking about work and money. So the question I want to leave you with isn't just about what I did as a kid. It's about what you can do now. Where in your life can you start looking for value where everyone else only sees waste?